I think that if you talk about brand, like who you are, your identity, how people see you, what they associate you with, uh, I think that being professional can mean that you are a bit of a try-hard, you know? So professional can sometimes mean that it's already a defined way to be in some way. So that's you're following the same path as everyone else. This is the way that you go out into the world. This is how your identity should be. You should be like the guy before you, or if you're different, you should follow the same kind of pattern. I think lots of people would say it's difficult to be authentic if you're being professional. I think there's certainly things about being professional, right, which are, showing up on time, unless that's part of your sort of identity to be the rebel. But when it comes to how you construct your identity, if you're trying to construct a professional identity, then sure, I think that's hard to be authentic. Why is branding important is it's a big question, but it's also really, really simple, right? I mean, nowhere before, no other time really in history, I don't think, have we had the platform that we've got for who we are as individuals. Everyone is sort of very conscious about what they're buying and what they're showing and what they're sharing, and the pictures that they put on social media, or what they write, who they're associated to, what they like, what they don't like. And that is exactly the same as what brands are. So you're essentially constructing your identity into a package in a way, and that becomes who you are. Importantly, for people who don't know you, like really know you. And so that becomes a sort of way in which, people associate with you. They can easily identify who you are. They can put you in some kind of box, because we like to put things in boxes so we can understand them. So like if you're part of a genre or a subgroup or a particular movement, or if you're political, or if you're associated with a fashion label or a particular area, these are all really important parts of what your brand is. The first thing that maybe is associated with building a brand is you have to get some kind of visual style, right? You have to get a mark. Like, you're not a brand if you don't have a logo, is a way of many people might think of what a brand is. But actually, it's your fans, it's your community, it's your friends, right? So the best place to start is how others see you. So it's a social thing, right? So how are you going to market yourself? How are you getting out there in the industry? Who are you with? Where are you? These are all things to be sort of how you construct your brand. You build a brand by building an audience. And that's the audience that's right for you, right? That's the audience that you've already got, and you need to grow it. So where are they? And then if that's a particular platform, for example, like let's just say TikTok, right? You need to be producing content that talks to those people. If that's a particular record label that you want to get into, then you're looking at the kind of world of that label and how those other artists are marketing themselves to that label. And you kind of do emulate a little bit, you try and fit in with what those other artists are doing to fit into that genre. So that your brand, if you like, is going to fit in with that audience. So it's a bit like copying and imitating to some point, but also at the same time being you, right? Because you know who you are, to some extent, and you certainly know what kind of culture is for you, right? What clothes you like, what food you eat, all of those things is part of your identity and brand. I think, a really simple way, but quite an accurate way of talking about building a brand is getting followers, right? And that's something that we can all kind of relate to now. The danger is, are you feeding the stuff that your followers want, or are you doing the stuff you want? And sometimes we've all got to make those decisions sometimes of, what's right for me in developing and building my career path, or developing myself as an artist, versus being true and authentic to myself. So that's something that you've always got to wrestle with, right? But ultimately what you're doing is building a following. The critical thing is, how are you getting your followers involved in what you're doing, right? Music is fundamentally a really social thing. So people will tell you if they like it or not, right? And then you've got to make that judgment call if you're doing it in that right way. So your following is your brand, first and foremost. The people who show up, the people who buy and download, the people who share with others, that's what your brand really is. So there's definitely always a risk of falling into a trap of doing something you don't want to do if you end up doing what your followers want to do, and there's a disconnection between the audience and you. The genuine nature of what you're doing is the output of it is creativity, right? The process and the output, it's all about creativity. And it's, sure, you can get great producers and you can get a lot of help in that process to maintain and keep you up and to keep feeding the followers that maybe, you don't feel is right anymore. But when you're starting out, at least, like, in some way, you are one of them, right? I mean, you should be a fan of yourself. Right? You should be able to really relate to what people get off on that you can create. So in that way, I think that, that's where professionalism can be dangerous. At that stage when you're building your brand, like, think of yourself in that as your own fan. Like, what is it that you want to hear, that you want to see? And that gives that authenticity. And and interestingly, for the kind of work that I do outside of music that's related to businesses, that's where they really fail, right? That's where that if you see a product that's like, it doesn't really do it anymore, whether that be like a fashion label or even a fast food chain, whatever it is, and you say, it doesn't talk to me anymore. It's probably because they've lost it, right? They're not a fan of themselves anymore. They're just chasing the success that they had a while ago.